we have, I think, very talented people on our team. They can, in theory, go work anywhere and kind of do a similar thing. And but I think a lot of people would mention, feel like a little bit of a cog in the wheel, and it gets back to what we talked about earlier, where when you're kind of chasing a greater good or building something, it's a little more rewarding, you know. And I think people, obviously, they want to be successful, they want to make money, they want to do different things. But I think when you can look back and actually be a part of building something, it's a lot more rewarding than what you can get elsewhere. So we've had, you know, a lot of success retaining talent that way, especially here in New York, where, you know, they've given us the keys to grow. The other point I would make on Clay's business, like they talk about XPay and other platforms, we're always looking for that on the trading side, where if a bank already is using software or something like that, that's rather sticky and can help us a lot, rather than just calling as a trading partner. It's like, hey, you're already using these systems with StoneX to get us set up for trading, you know, and we'll try to bring market-leading ideas. It just makes it a lot easier. And I think we're just scratching the surface on at least the community bank side, and then potentially internationally too. You know, without getting too deep in the weeds, I think the private credit boom's been huge here in the U.S., and I think a lot of that's going to be overbanked, and a lot of assets are going to be covered. And I think the next move is probably internationally. So if we can find ways to get in between that, it could be successful.
Excellent. Well, I guess, you know, the only thing to throw out as we sort of draw this to a close is what excites you for the next 10 years, 20 years, Clay, maybe?
Yeah, it's been 23 years now. It's hard to believe. We celebrated our 20th anniversary with the firm last year, I think, since the 2004 acquisition. So, yeah, I mean, the whole business is such a unique thing that we built. I think, you know, when we first came over, it was such a small business, and we were only in 2004 starting the conversation with large global banks to be a provider for what is now a huge piece of our overall business, and, you know, a piece that the banks like to have us there for, to rely on us for that problem solving. That piece continues to grow organically. We expect that to continue to grow out. And the new pieces that we're getting into with the merchant services offering, we think there's a lot of future in that. So, you know, that could be a huge piece for us in the next 5 to 10 years. The U.S. business with the community banks, we are very excited about. There's something like 9,000 banks in the U.S., I think, right?
Which is a phenomenal number.
It's a huge market out there, and we're expecting to have hundreds of banks in the portfolio, with a lot of overlap with the fixed income team as well, and the excitement of what goes into that. So I think all those things are, you know, keeping us busy and getting us excited to come in every day and plow along. And inevitably something new will come along that we'll get on as well. So,
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big gap right now between us and, as you mentioned, like the banks. You know, there's a big amount of space and market share, I think, to pick up from our businesses. You know, I think it's exciting that even from the day we started at part of the StoneX, which was INTLFC Stone Umbrella at the time, you know, we're starting to connect more dots, whether it's funding, how we fund our books, you know, how we have inroads into different accounts, how we're able to hedge the books. That's allowing us to get, I think, bigger and more powerful as a trading desk. And then I think, you know, a lot of the inroads into these different account types, which I think a lot of our counterparties probably would have thought we already had inroads to them. You know, that kind of runway for the next 5-6 years, it'll be very interesting, especially if it's a conducive market. You know, I think in a lot of ways we might see a steeper curve at some point in the near future. If that's the case, there's probably going to be a lot of general demand for, you know, fixed income and agency mortgages and our products in general. So I think that's a very exciting portion of it. And I also think there's a little bit of, you know, there's some revolutionary changes I think that are happening in technology, especially in a business like ours where it's still done all OTC. You know, there's a world where we'll probably see more electronic trading and more high frequency type trading in the mortgage space. And I think we're in a position to provide liquidity there because we've kind of been doing it in some facet for the last 10 years I've been here. So I think we're a little bit in front there, and that's exciting to me. So, yeah.
I'd say two things. Well, I think we're in an incredibly unique position. Non-bank financial services company that has real resources behind it. I think we can get things done faster than a lot of people, which is important. And so that gets me excited for the expansion we have upcoming. One thing I would say, I feel like Clay mentioned earlier, we've been here 5 years. I feel like now more than ever, at least in the New York office and even globally, like it's just a less siloed environment. It's hard to put into words or give totally tangible examples. I mean, Clay gave some of them earlier, but it
Yeah.
just feels very
Well, we
much.
have two separate offices here in New York. I mean, that's,
That
wasn't really a silo. It was
it was like perfectly across town, and so like that's
Yeah.
it feels like it's less siloed than ever, and I think people are working together for our business. I think the trading business will continue to grow. I think we'll continue to steal market share. I think on the fixed income side, global expansion is huge, but also hopefully on the banking side as well. I think there's a huge gap to be filled or void, I guess I would say, these 10 billion and below banks that they have loan portfolios, whether it's RV loans, C&I loans, things they need help with, things that from a revenue number perspective may not move the needle for a lot of the large banks out there, but I think would absolutely move the needle for us. And so I think it's an underbanked, underappreciated space. There's a big country out there with a huge number of banks where we already have connectivity, and so over the next 5 years, finding our way to get in there and hopefully provide solutions for those people could. I don't want to say the upside's unlimited, but it's hard to quantify because I do think there is significant upside in that business. So that's probably what excites me the most for us moving forward.